Hello there everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel, Lessons with Guitar Man. My name's Aaron and I'll be your designated driver here today for this great lesson on Nirvana. Now how is it that we can use Nirvana in blues or bluegrass? What we're going to do basically is just take a couple of licks from Nirvana Unplugged and weave them into some bluegrass and blues progressions, give it our own little flavor, and see what we can't come up with here. When I was a kid growing up, this album was really famous, and when I first started learning the guitar, I think I learned how to play most of the riffs off of this whole record. So the first one we're going to take a look at is All Apologies. Now, All Apologies is a great riff in D. And that's what we're just going to be looking at, is the riff part that he does over a D chord. Basically what we're going to be doing is playing off of this shape, a D, or a D bar chord at the 5th fret. And we're going to start here on the 5th fret with our middle finger and on the A string or the 5th string and go 5, 7, 4, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7, 5, 7. And then going back down, 7, 5, 7, 5, 4, 7, 5, 4, 7, 5. Okay, so that's the scale we're going to use here. Now what that basically is, for you theory buffs out there, that is D mixolydian, or a D major scale with a flatted 7th note. There's your flatted 7th right there, that C note. Okay? The riff basically goes like so. You're just going to go 2 times up to the 3rd or right here and then back. And then every time you do that little lick, you're going to come up and go back to the original and then up here and squeak to this high one. So the lick is exactly the same. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are the licks, and it starts with. Okay? Now that in itself is a pretty interesting exercise. How could we use All Apologies in, say, a blues song? Well, what I'm going to do here is go ahead and play a backing track real quick. This is a standard 12-bar blues in the key of D, so I'm going to stay in the same key. What I'm going to do to begin with is play All Apologies now over a blues riff, or a D7th, or a D9th, and play this using more or less the same riff that Kurt Cobain uses in All Apologies. So let's go ahead and hear what that sounds like. Now we'll go up to the next string. All right, and now we'll go up the next string to the. So here we go. 1, 2, ready, and. Okay, so there you have a way you could weave All Apologies into a blues, in this case a D blues starting on with a D7th there. I was just vamping on a D, and now the idea is you take this and weave it over all of the chords in a blues progression. So in this case you're going to have a D7th, then you're going to have a G7th. Now so you can take it and move it from this exact same scale or shape, okay, right here, and you're going to move it up to your G right here and play the exact same licks over the G chord, okay? And then you come back here and play the same licks, or using the same exact scale, the same fingering. Here's your D note, and you just slide this up to G, so D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, and play the same scale. And then lastly, you're going to move it up to A for your A. All right? And that's what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and play through this whole blues 2 times, and then we'll move on to the next portion. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there you have All Apologies, using it in a blues format. Now let's go ahead and change this, and instead of using All Apologies in a blues format, let's go ahead and use it in a bluegrass format. So what we're going to do now is take the classic tune Angeline the Baker and see if we can't weave a little bit of All Apologies into Angeline the Baker. What I'm going to do is play through Angeline the Baker here a time so you can get it in your head, and then what I'm going to do is introduce a couple of licks from All Apologies and basically use those same riffs in Angeline the Baker. So what exactly was I doing? When I first played through it, I just kind of played the melody of Angeline the Baker. I didn't play it exactly or anything. I was just fussing around there a little bit. After I did that, I kind of went up here. Well, I just took Angeline the Baker and played through it to get it into my head. And then what I was doing was thinking about Angeline the Baker while using the All Apologies riff. So what I did was... just kind of used those little ideas in there and came up with my own way to weave that in to Angeline the Baker. What we're going to look at now is About a Girl, which is also off MTV's Unplugged. It is the first song, and at approximately 1 minute and 28 seconds into About a Girl, he does a little guitar solo that sounds something like this. The background sounds like... that's the riff. So what exactly is Kurt Cobain doing there? Well, he's playing over an E minor, G. What he's basically doing is thinking E minor pentatonic here, and he's hitting 2 notes at a time. So starting at the 5th fret, it's going to be these 2, and then you move up, and then move down a set of strings, and then move up, and then, and up here, when he's up here, I think he hits that B in there too a little bit, a time or two. So it essentially goes. Kind of hear that B on top there, so it's all right. And in context, it sounds like okay, and that's the riff. So what exactly can we do with that over a blues or a bluegrass song? So here's a blues with a Chicago shuffle feel. All right, now how can we weave this in there? Well, let's first just play it how Kurt did it. And that in itself sounds pretty darn good, right? But let's go ahead and spice that up a little bit and make it sound a little more musical and just borrow some of those ideas while playing over this E7th static chord here, or the beginning of a blues. So here you go. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Alright, so there's how you could weave that into a blues chord, or in this case, an E7th or the beginning of a blues progression. And you can kind of come up with your own ways to put that together and maybe just use one little piece or all of it, go up from down or down to up. But the idea here is you're using a sound from Nirvana and weaving it into a blues sound. Now let's go ahead and do that same thing, except in this case, let's use it for a bluegrass song. Now, how could we weave this over a bluegrass song? Well, let's take a look at the classic Foggy Mountain Breakdown. Now, a lot of you guitar players out there may very well already know how to play this song. It's a great tune. How exactly can we use Kurt Cobain's How can we use that in Foggy Mountain Breakdown? Well, what I'm going to do is play through Foggy Mountain Breakdown 2 times, and I'm going to use the Nirvana lick over the E minor part when I come around on the second time around. First time I'll play the tune, second time I'll play the lick, and then we'll move on to the next lick. What I basically did was took that and played it over the E minor part, and when it went from G, that's the original melody, right? So what I did was I played. Or something along those lines. The idea is that I just took the... There's how you could weave, a possible way you could weave About a Girl over a bluegrass song. And the last one we're going to take a look at is Lake of Fire. So this song, Lake of Fire, is actually by the Meat Puppets, is the name of the group. I don't know a lot about them, but when Nirvana Unplugged came out, I was like, oh, the Meat Puppets, and they had this great song called Lake of Fire. And the lick that we're going to take a look at here is one that I think you'll all recognize right away. And if you go to 31 seconds into the song, they're playing... What in the world is that? So you got... Now, what we're basically playing here is a F and a B flat. And then we're playing a C and an F, which is the sus and the seventh, and then moving up to a G and a D, which is the root and the fifth. But what you have here is the same shape. And then he uses two fingers here and does this little trill where he goes. Now that's a really neat little riff to play over a G. To get the exact timing of it, you'll have to listen to him. It's almost got a little bluesy effect to it. Now, how exactly can we use that riff over a blues song or a bluegrass song? Well, in the first example here, what we're going to do is we're going to play this over a G blues. That's how you could use it in a blues setting. All right, so let's go ahead and use this riff over a bluegrass song, and then for this example, I'm going to use the 9-pound hammer. Alright, well that's a wrap on this video. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. The idea here is that you borrow a few of the licks from Nirvana Unplugged and plug them into some bluegrass and blues songs, maybe some jazz riffs or whatever else you want to weave them into. I've just used these little riffs here today as an example to get you thinking about what you might be able to do with these riffs. Maybe you can come up with your own variation and send it on over to me and let me hear what it sounds like. You can reach out to me in my email address listed below in the description. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll be seeing you